We are beating the U.S. Let's talk about that next in the My Media Podcast. Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of the My Media Podcast. My name is Daniel Stoljanovic and I'm the host and owner of My Media. You can find me on X at Dino_Zigzag and on the My Media socials on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, X, and now our brand new TikTok account. Now, what a night tonight will be. Bosnia take on the U.S. men's national team in the round of 32 of the FIFA World Cup at 7 p.m. Central Time, 2 a.m. in Bosnia. You can find the match on Fox here in the U.S. and on Federalna Televizija and Arena Sport in Bosnia. Now we will talk more about the match in a bit, but we do have a few other topics before we get to that. Most things are related to this match, but the first thing isn't. Over the past weekend, I went to the FIFA Fan Fest in Kansas City, which I'll try to potentially put out a vlog on our YouTube channel sometime this week. I'm not sure if I have enough footage of everything, so that's why I haven't put it out yet. I'm still in the process of editing it all. I've got a bunch of pictures, though, so I'll probably add those in and maybe add some music and stuff like that. So potentially stay tuned for that. But overall, if I'm being honest, it wasn't the most pleasant experience now. I think a good chunk of that has to do with the weather because it was scorching hot this weekend. I mean, like the weather outside was terrible. I was in line for about an hour to get in and just sweating my butt off. I'm not going to lie. It was me and my dad in the line. We were just sweating the whole time. I'm not going to lie. The line wasn't the most pleasant. Lines for just about everything at the event were very long, so that also wasn't the most pleasant part, but like it was kind of expected. But like at the same time, I wish the lines were a bit shorter. The FIFA store, despite being in the U.S. and being in a host city, didn't have a single U.S. men's national team jersey, despite having a wall full of Canada jerseys, which was very odd and made no sense in my opinion. I mean, I literally only saw Canada jerseys and Brazil jerseys. Despite, just opening and getting in right as the event opened up, it felt like the FIFA store was already out of oven stuff, as there were, there weren't many different sizes available in clothing. Like, most of the sizes were, medium and large left. Like, there was no, XLs. I didn't see any smalls or anything, any kid sizing that I know of. There was this cool FIFA polo. Excuse me there. I had a bit of a voice crack. There was this small FIFA polo. Or not small FIFA polo. There was this FIFA polo I wanted to get. Literally, the only size left was medium, and I don't understand how because the event had just opened that day. I will say the coolest thing was the atmosphere in and around the event, as there were fans from many different countries. Shout out to the Austrian and Algerian fans who were in town for the awesome 3-3 draw, because they played that day. I was there Saturday night, or Saturday over the day, and then into Saturday night. Sadly, didn't get to go to the match. But both countries had some great fans and were all, overall really cool and pleasant people. I got to meet a lot of them, and I got a lot of Let's Go Bosnians and Take Me to Americas from them as well. So, pretty cool experience. With the overall fan fest was a bit better, but the atmosphere in the city felt great. The atmosphere just all around the town was great, as it is a host city. There was a lot of cool FIFA stuff, but the overall fan fest I wish went a lot better. I saw some cool Croatia fans. Said what's up to them, met some Bosnian fans at a restaurant. One was repping a OG Jacob Manchester City jersey, so I thought that was pretty cool. But now let's move on and talk a little bit about St. Louis City. I just wanted to say that now that Robert Lewandowski has officially joined the Chicago Fire, I'm hoping City can go out and try to bring in Hugo Kuipers, sorry if I butchered his name, as a new striker, because we desperately need one, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's it. That's the comment. But also, speaking of City, I am manifesting that inshallah next year I'll be able to play in the media game. So if anybody from City listening, hook up your boy with some media credentials, I would greatly appreciate it. But in all seriousness, staying on the topic of St. Louis City, City 2's assistant coach, Elvira Kafedis commented on the match of Bosnia versus USA, speaking to the Post-Dispatch, saying, "This is not just a soccer match. I feel like it's a celebration of two countries that saved my life and the lives of thousands and thousands of Bosnians." Now, a beautiful quote from Elvira, and one that hit close to home, considering that my family, like many others, immigrated to the U.S. in the 90s after the war to build a family and a better life for them, and eventually for my sister and I. Now, as many of you who follow the My Media socials may know, I made a video explaining what Bosnians had to go through and why this national team means so much and helps us keep us connected to the homeland, despite being far away from Bosnia. And it pains me to go into the comments and see a fellow member of the Bosnian diaspora, I won't name names or anything, but it was a comment on Facebook, pretty much saying, just attacking me, But just because I wasn't born in Bosnia doesn't mean I am no less Bosnian than you. And for you to come into my comment section and get upset over something I said at the beginning of the video, which was that I wish both of my national teams weren't facing each other so that they could go as far as possible, for you to get upset at that clip from the beginning of the video shows that you didn't watch the full video. And you have no right to come into my comments all disrespectful and tell me to shut the F up. And just for your information, Bosnian Americans, as well as Bosnian Austrians, Bosnian Germans, Bosnian New Zealanders like yourself, and etc., exist. They are real things. I am American by birth and Bosnian by blood. So therefore, I will leave you with this. Živjela Bosna i Hercegovina i njena diaspora. Long live Bosnia and its diaspora. Now, sorry to go off on a little rant there. I wasn't expecting to do that, but it was something that just, in the back of my mind, I'm not the type to usually respond to comments, but that one just ticked me off so much. So I did respond to him, and I wanted to also clarify here as well. So if you saw that side of me in the Facebook comments, I do apologize, but, now going into this match, there's been a lot of media drama. From Tim Howard to the whole news reporter thing and not knowing where Bosnia was on our map. Former Bosnian keeper Asmir Begovic actually responded to Tim Howard and said, "We are shaking in our boots, Tim. We are ready to battle in San Francisco." Actually, Santa Clara, but, that was what the comment said, so don't come at me and be like, "Oh, it's in Santa Clara." I know that. El Capitano Edin Dzeko responded to the ABC reporter, not knowing where Bosnia was, by saying that says a lot about her and not us. And it was actually kind of funny to figure out that ABC's, main president, for like the head of ABC News, is a Bosnian from Sarajevo, the same city as Edin Dzeko, the capital city of Bosnia. Now, whereas my favorite response to Tim Howard comes from selector Sergei Barbares, who responded by saying, "Who's that? I've never heard of him." If I'm being honest, I don't think many people would have heard of Tim Howard outside the U.S. if it wasn't for that huge game against Belgium in the 2014 round of 16, in the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, which was the last World Cup Bosnia played at 12 years ago, obviously. And I'm not going to lie, I think Tim also holds on to that a little bit too much. But this is just some trash talk, guys. Obviously, I have massive respect for Tim Howard. I just didn't like the comments saying that Bosnia are better off not getting off the plane. We saw what happened with Italy. Maybe it happens again today. So, now, Barbares was in great spirits during the press conference, happy as can be. It is understood that both Amar Dedic and Haris Tabakovic have trained with the team, and Barbares did say that all 26 players would be ready. I really hope Tabakovic is ready to get his first minutes of the World Cup. I could see him being a crucial player coming on off the bench for Bosnia, because I think that Barbares will go with the classic Dzeko and Demirovic up front. I would love to see Haris Tabakovic coming back from injury, getting his first minutes, and potentially bagging himself a goal like he did many times during the qualifiers. He was one of our most important players. Now, looking at this match, this is the biggest moment in Bosnian football history since our independence. These players are not ready only for a match, but for war, and they are ready to show the world that Inat Silan Bosanski. So, time to show them the Bosanski Inat, ladies and gentlemen. Now for the U.S. Mauricio Pochettino has said that he doesn't see the U.S. as favorites going into this match, and I do agree with Pochettino there. I think that the U.S. are a good side, don't get me wrong. Obviously, up until this point, I've always supported the U.S. and Bosnia. In this match, obviously, my heart choosing Bosnia, my homeland. But, when you look at this U.S. team, and I think Alen Pjanic, former Bosnian national team player, put it best, they are a good team, and we shouldn't underestimate them, but they're also not in the ranks of teams like Brazil or Spain, which is what a lot of, I feel like, American media have painted them out to be. Now, they are good. This is one of the best U.S. teams I've seen in a very long time, if not the best U.S. team I've seen in a long time. But I don't think they're unbeatable. And Barbadas also said a few days ago that he loves the role of David versus Goliath. So Barbadas does, I guess, see them in this situation as a favorite, which is normal. I think everywhere they're going to be seen as a favorite because they're higher in FIFA rankings. They're also playing very well. I say they're in better form despite the loss against Turkey going into this game. But overall, I agree with Pochettino, and I don't see them as direct favorites. I think that this match genuinely could go either way, which obviously all matches can go like that. But I genuinely think that Bosnia could surprise the U.S. And I do like how Pochettino and his players directly haven't underestimated Bosnia. It's more so the media and former players. But, now he also said that he views this match as a World Cup final for the U.S. So now as for the U.S., let's look at them from a tactical standpoint. This U.S. team under Mauricio Pochettino plays with a far greater intensity than past U.S. teams in the World Cup. At least in my opinion, I think this is one of the most intense U.S. teams. I mean, they're one of the most tightly knit U.S. teams I've seen in a long time. In possession from the U.S., we can see some quick vertical passing. We can see fullbacks pushing high. Their wingers, which also include the great Christian Pulisic, which is of Croatian descent, so somewhat close to Bosnia, obviously Croatia being Bosnia's neighbors. But yeah, like I was saying, we can see their wingers constantly looking to attack in 1v1 situations, and you can also expect midfielders to make late runs into the box from them, whether it be Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams. They have a very strong midfield, in my opinion. Out of possession, the U.S. maintain a high defensive line to compress the field. They press highly in an attempt to win the ball back in seconds, and they will be looking to force Bosnia to make mistakes in their own half. The U.S.'s main strengths are their athleticism, high tempo, speed, counter pressing, and dangerous transitions and counterattacks. I think the U.S. are a very, very fast side, very physical side, and their speed could surprise and cost Bosnia. Their biggest weaknesses is space being left behind the fullbacks. Their high defensive line can also be exposed, and when it comes to strong and physical target forwards, such as players like Edin Dzeko, they can become a little vulnerable. The U.S. are led in defense by their captain and St. Louis native Tim Ream, whereas in attack, danger can come from Christian Pulisic and Flo Balogun. The U.S., in my opinion, will most likely line up in a 4-2-3-1 to try and break down Bosnia's low block. And they will try to use fullbacks such as Anthony Robinson and Alex Freeman to attack our flanks. Now for Bosnia, as I mentioned, Sergej Barbarez usually has our team lining up in a 4-4-2 low block, very defensive system. When it comes to Bosnia and possession, set pieces are a major weapon, as Bosnia have a very strong aerial presence, being one of the tallest teams at the tournament. Our fullbacks being Amar Dedic and Sad Kolasinac will provide width, whereas our wingers being Kerim Alibegovic, former U.S. international Esmir Baraktarovic, and Amar Memic like to use their speed and creativeness to cut inside and usually go for a shot, especially whether that be Esmir or Kerim, more so than Amar Memic. Bosnia like to go with pace and build-up through the center before switching play out wide. Long balls and crosses will be a big strength of ours as well. Now, in terms of out of possession, Bosnia, as I mentioned, like to play in a low block and enjoy keeping the defensive lines close together to deny space between midfield and defense. Bosnia rarely press high for long periods, preferring to force opponents outside. Our biggest strengths are our physicality, defensive organization. We're a dangerous team on corners and set pieces, and we have experienced leadership coming from our young players, or for our young players, coming from players like Edin Dzeko and Sad Kolasinac, So they provide great leadership for this younger Bosnian team, because Bosnia, I believe, is one of the youngest teams at the tournament. I think that a player like Ermedin Demirovic, while he does always get hated on and stuff, and I don't think he's a bad player, but people, I feel like, criticize him way too much, I think that Ermedin Demirovic can be a really important player for Bosnia when it comes to pressing and with how much he runs per game, and he could really use that in the U.S., where the U.S. is one of the teams, I think, with the most distance covered, whereas Bosnia is one of the teams with the most clearances. So as for Bosnia's weaknesses, we can struggle when forced to chase a game. Sometimes when leading, we drop into the low block way too early as well, rather than trying to stay attacking and grab a second goal. A lack of pace in midfield and defense could also cause us to be exploited. Our midfield, in my opinion, is definitely our weak link compared to the U.S. We can also be found vulnerable when opponents switch play quickly. I also believe that Kolasinac pushing up high up the pitch could cause space to be exposed, and that could be one of Bosnia's main weaknesses. I would like to see Bosnia potentially in a back five instead to prevent this, with Kolasinac being deployed as a center back and either Dedic or Memic as the left back. Bosnia also currently lead the World Cup, like I mentioned earlier, in clearances, which helps show how strong our defensive shape has been. The key tactical battles for this matchup are Bosnia's aerial threat versus USA's center backs, where Bosnia will be targeting crosses and set pieces, like mentioned earlier, which will most likely be the things testing the U.S. center backs and the U.S. defense. USA's pressing versus Bosnia's buildup is another tactical battle, I would say. If Bosnia managed to play through the first line of pressure from the U.S., they'll give the U.S. problems. But if not, the U.S. could generate multiple turnovers in advanced areas and in Bosnia's half of the pitch. Like I mentioned earlier as well, the midfield control will be a key factor to this match. I think the U.S. will definitely beat us when it comes to the middle of the pitch. I wouldn't, our midfield has improved, I feel like, at this World Cup, but it still has a lot of struggles and a lot of holes in it. USA will try to have their fullbacks pin Bosnia deep, but Bosnia may also look to exploit this space left behind on counterattacks that come quickly from the U.S. The players on both sides, in my opinion, to look out for are the 40-year-old captain Edin Dzeko, the incredible pressing, like I mentioned earlier, from Medin Demirovic, and our wingers of Esmir Barakterovic playing against his birth nation and world-class wonder kid Kerim Alibegovic. Whereas for the U.S., I want to highlight Flo Balogun, Christian Pulisic, and Juve midfielder Weston McKennie, who have all been very strong this tournament and have been some of the U.S.'s best players. Obviously, Pulisic was out due to injury and came back for the Turkey game, but in that first match, and even when he came back against Turkey, he looked very, very strong. My prediction for this match is a draw. I'm going to say 0-0, but I do believe that Bosnia will win on penalties. This will go the full 120 minutes. It's going to be a very tough and grueling match for both sides. I think that, like I mentioned earlier, genuinely either side could win this match. There isn't a clear favorite, in my opinion. But like I was saying, I think Bosnia knows how to endure the pressure. I think a lot more pressure is on the U.S. in this match, with them being the host nation. Bosnia have played against another host nation, being in Canada, which Jesse Marsh didn't really want to comment on Bosnia and the U.S. too much. I think he's still a little salty. He never got the U.S. job. But, yeah, like I'm saying, my prediction for this match is 0-0. Bosnia will win on penalties, so book it right here and come back when Ako Bogda we do that, which, if God willing, that's what that means. We do that. So, all I'm going to say is, Sretno Zmajevi večeras, and may the best team win. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Zvaj Media Podcast. Hope you enjoyed. I wanted to give a shout-out to Bosnian defender Nihad Mujakic, who I kept the promise to buzz my hair to, and I want to thank him for noticing and commenting. So, hvala ti Nihad, legendo. If you're looking to watch the match in St. Louis, there are many great places such as Ballpark Village, which is where I'll be at. So if you see me, feel free to say hello. Bevo Cafe Lounge is a great spot for Bosnian, fans. It will be, primarily Bosnian, whereas I think Ballpark will have more U.S. fans, and most places will have U.S. fans. 9 Miles, another great place. Also mentioning Bevo, you can buy an authentic Bosnia jersey at Bevo if you do go there. The Pitch is great, and Amsterdam Tavern as well, and many more incredible places all across St. Louis, because luckily for us, St. Louis is such a great soccer city and is the soccer capital of the U.S. So that's going to about wrap it up. Once again, thank you for listening, and if you haven't already, follow us on socials, myself at Dino_Zigzag on X, and on my media everywhere else, whether that be Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify, and now TikTok. Thank you. Oh, and Facebook. I forgot to mention we have a brand new Facebook account. So if you haven't already, go drop a follow on our Facebook. So thank you, and may the best team win tonight. Haimo Bosnia.